DOB rules of county commissioner. I was like the worst, right? I was on skinnier.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, August 19th, 2026. It is 5:30 p.m. We will call to order the Planning and Land Development Regulation Board. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Irene, roll call, please, to determine a quorum.
Vice Chair Albano.
Present.
Chair Schenk.
Present.
Board Member Hilton.
Here.
Board Member Stansel.
Here.
Board Member Gross and Decker are excused. Board Member Davina. Chairwoman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We move to the next item on the agenda, the approval of our meeting minutes. Did everyone receive the minutes?
Yes.
Are there any corrections?
Don't see any.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second. Thank you. Irene, roll call, please.
Board Member Hilton.
Yes.
Board Member Stansel.
Yes.
Vice Chair Albano.
Yes.
Chair Schenk.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, the public hearing section. Proposed amendments to the Unified Land Development Code. Mr. Nguyen.
Good evening, Madam Chair and the agency members. This is the final presentation to PODRB relating to the proposed amendments to the LDC. All the chapters have been presented to you. The last time that we went through that was the wrap-up meeting in June 17. And now Mr. Jose Papa going to present information relating to since then. We have additional comments and then how we have basically reflect that in the changes. So that's
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Papa.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jose Papa for the Community Development Department. As Mr. Nguyen mentioned, we're going to be presenting to you some additional comments and updates to the proposed update to the Land Development Code that we've received since the wrap-up workshop. And the bulk of these really comes from when City Council had a workshop on June 9th, and the results of that were unavailable to present to you at the June 17th wrap-up. So, and since then, we also received some comments from some stakeholders, which we will present as part of the brief summary that we're going to present in table form. So at City Council regarding Chapter 2, which is our process and application section, for one thing that Council wanted was to limit the extensions of development orders to one. So what is proposed here is that the language will now go from having to renew it every 12 months to renew it one time for 24 months, provided that that development has a valid certificate of concurrency. The other one would be for a zoning request, whether approved or denied, an applicant may only request for a zoning change every 24 months or once every 2 years for a particular property. Change from council regarding the bonding, like for projects within an MPD, council proposes that instead of the word may, the city council shall include MPD requirements for bonds. So the only change there is from may to shall. A big topic of discussion at the council meeting was regarding data centers. So this is what the staff has proposed in the meantime, as we propose for additional amendments that would create performance standards and a tiered structure for permitting for data centers. One, data centers will be regulated such that it is not a permitted use in the city. However, if one is proposed, it would have to go through the special exception process and would require approval by a supermajority of city council members to be a permitted use. And further on, as a footnote to where it could be permitted, it would be limited to either Industrial 1 or Industrial 2 district and subject to meeting the industrial use performance standards of Section 41402. But again, the big thing here is that it is not it's not a use that's regularly permitted within the city, but would require a public hearing through the special exception process prior, and with approval by supermajority of city council. The other one is that the city council would like to enhance within the land development code penalties and fines for unpermitted tree removal. What staff, that's going to take a little more time, a little more effort, research, and preparing an ordinance that would have the right fair penalties and fines. And so what staff's proposing here is that we'll prepare an ordinance after adoption of this land development code update to address that specifically based on city council comments. So of course the planning board will see that amendment. And the same thing with data center. We're looking to create a definition for what data centers are. And again, that's based on comments from council that we need to take a tiered approach maybe to data centers. And so again, that will also take some research and analysis as to how to appropriately tier data centers. And so as a large part of a larger package of additional amendments, data centers will be a topic of a specific ordinance as directed by City Council. From the stakeholders, there were just some comments regarding some proposed amendments that needed clarification. One, when we talked about collector roads, we talked about there should be no connections to collector roads. But what is intended is that there should be no residential driveway connections to collector roads. Of course, if you have a road that leads to a subdivision, that could connect to a collector road. If you have the driveway to a shopping center, of course, that could connect to a collector road. The intent here is that you will not have a single family home sitting on a collector road. And the other one here is just to match the land development code with St. John's River Water Management District rules. And that's regarding the validity of wetland delineations. The LDC proposed a 3-year time frame for the validity of wetland delineations, but St. John's River Water Management District allows for 5 years. And so we're just going to match what the Water Management District also allows. One amendment had to do with the double silt fencing at wetlands, and that's when wetlands are adjacent to conservation areas. And then what was proposed is that they do a double silt fence, one row of a fence to right at the wetland line, and they're 3 feet away from it. So again, it's only in those specific circumstances where you're protecting an area that's designated as conservation or preservation, or is within a conservation easement, or is a high-quality wetland. As proposed by VCARD, as an alternative, we can instead install a reinforced silt fence, which would have the same effect as doing a double double silt fence. And so that's an option that was provided within that land development code amendment. And this last one was just a task to clarify what was intended by the 2-foot freeboard requirement in a special flood hazard area. And again, that pertains to habitable space and only. And so, you know, a single-family home or an apartment building that's that's near a special flood hazard area, you would have that additional 2-foot freeboard above the base flood elevation. And that's the clarification that's provided. At this point, as Mr. Nguyen mentioned, we've reviewed all the other amendments that's proposed for this update of the land development code. And so with those additional items that are included within the package, staff's recommending that the Planning and Land Development Regulation Board recommend that City Council approve the proposed amendments. Just for next steps, we will again go through a City Council wrap-up workshop on September 8th at their workshop. First reading for the amendments will be September 15th and adoption on October 6th. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions at this time.
Thank you. Return to the planning board. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. Going back to the beginning, want to change it from 12 months to 24 months, but I didn't see any reasoning or explanation as to why they wanted to do that. Can you explain that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I can only guess that, you know, everyone is entitled to due process. The landowner can always apply to change the zoning on their property.
Was there a problem with 12 months?
No, other than maybe, you know, for something that's,
Well, whose idea was it to change it?
that's City Council's direction.
If I may, yeah. Currently, you are allowed to have up to 3 extensions.
No, I think, I'm sorry, yeah, let me clarify, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Was I answering the wrong question? Because you said 24 months, I was thinking of the zoning change, or is it for the development order?
Either one.
Either one, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the request, you know, right now with the development order, once you're approved, you're entitled to 3 extensions, but every year you come in. Council wanted to limit that to once, and as a sort of, I guess, as a compromise between once or 3 times. We're going to do it once, but essentially do it instead of for 12 months, for 24 months. And there's nothing magic about 12 months or 24 months.
Well, the just question is why?
Yeah.
Because somebody just feels like changing it?
No, but
I mean, what's the logic?
but the logic is that you don't want an improvement of a development order to sit there for unused, essentially for 3, essentially 4 years. Because so, you know, regulations change. You might change the land development code. And so finding that happy medium between 4 years sitting on an
Instead of
old
sitting
code.
there 3, it sits there 2.
Yes, sir. Or 4 years. Instead of sitting there for 4 years, it sits there for 2.
I still don't see the reason for it.
Sometimes there is no,
I mean, like, you know, what was the explanation of the city council to want to change it? That, you know, it's a puzzlement.
I don't read minds.
Well, yeah, but they said it,
Yes,
but didn't they give a reason for it?
maybe, I wasn't at that public, I wasn't at the workshop, so
Okay.
if there was.
All right.
Mr.
Yeah,
Moon?
my recollection is that it was part of the issue relating to payment of impact fees. So basically, the current regulation is that you can have the impact fees basically updated for at least 4 years. And then part of that is that they don't want it to extend it too far out, that if when we do the update, then we basically, they're gonna have to pay, you know, they will be able to pay on the old fees versus the new fees. So they wanna limit that time frame. So potentially, right now, you get a deal, you get 12 months, And then you got 3 additional extension of each, 12 months. So that would take you like 4 years out just to start a project. So they want to limit that, so.
Thank you for that explanation.
Much better explanation.
I'm finished.
I'd like to expand on that then. So, if I understand you correctly, if somebody gets a development order today, those impact fees are locked in for the duration of that cycle?
No, they are not locked in. The development order allows them to do the next step, which is basically development permit. So they can move toward the development permit. And if they want to move to the development permit, they would have to basically pay utility connection fees before they can move to a building permit. So that's the step. And then you don't pay that until basically building permit approval.
So the impact fees really don't have any impact on the duration and that of the development order, right? It's in the city's best interest to let them have more extensions, because the longer they drag it out, if they eventually build the project, they're gonna pay the current impact fees, not the previous ones.
We used to have basically impact fees that can be updated every year, every October. We use the index in order to do that. Now, statute basically limits that requirement. We can't really update that every year. We have to update it every 4 years now. So that's one of the issue. So.
Mr. Papa, can you go forward a couple of slides? I have a question similar to Mr. Stansel about the 2-foot freeboard and the double silt fence. What was the driver for that? Is this an issue that we've seen?
Sure. Regarding the double silt fence, typically, what our stormwater department has seen is that when you're in those sensitive areas and your silt fence fails, there's a challenge in that because it's a conservation area or environmentally sensitive, they're not allowed to bring big machinery in there. Everything will have to be hand dug to restore it. And so with a double silt fence, you hope to get that extra protection that it doesn't blow out. It cuts expense for potential for development. And the same thing with, and the reinforced is, I think it's reinforced, so the chance that there's less failure to that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank
And
you.
regarding, the freeboard, instead of, what FEMA requires is a 1-foot freeboard. We do 2 feet because we get additional points with our community rating system.
Thank you. You have a question?
Yeah, for, regarding the data centers, just was curious if, you said it'd have to go through the special exception
Yes, sir.
process. Will the criteria for the special exception change? And it probably should, right, to,
At this time, it's not. There's been no proposed changes from the special exception criteria. But I think as we develop that additional ordinance, where we, again, probably more holistically look at data centers and regulating it in a tiered basis and having performance standards, probably those criteria will change. I think the immediate impact of this is that essentially what we've done is that if you want to do a data center, you're going to have to go through a public hearing process. It gets vetted in public. That's the short
So
and the quick.
Is there a supermajority required now?
Pardon?
That's what they put.
Yes, sir. It does require supermajority.
Yeah, so part of the discussion with City Council is that we proposed in the amendments to prohibit that use, data center. And in order to get the prohibited use be approved, it has to go through the process through basically a special exception. And that will go to PODRB for a recommendation. And then it will go to City Council, and City Council would have to have a majority approval. So that is the current proposal. Because part of the amendment to the LDC, we didn't envision to basically revamp the LDC. We basically want to update the LDC to reflect the policies of the comprehensive plan. And so we went back to City Council and basically asked Council that we will come back after the adoption of the LDC. We will provide an ordinance that spells it thoroughly out of how to handle data center. Because part of the things with data center is that state has a definition for the large data center or super data center. Basically, is at consumption of electric use of 50 megawatts a day. So, but there are other data centers that use a lot less of electrical consumption, and they also use basically water conservation, recycling the water usage, and basically practically no noise at all because they don't have generator, for example. So those are the things that I think it will help to provide some discussion and guidance to City Council for decision making, so that we possibly have tier approach to the data center, that we can increase our commercial tax base by allowing certain smaller similar use that doesn't have an impact to the community. So we will have that discussion when we bring it back in the future to City Council for discussion.
So with the prohibited use, then the minimum square footage doesn't matter. It's absolutely prohibited, only in industrial 1 and 2, and will require a special exception.
That's correct,
Yes,
yes.
ma'am.
So what about, we're kind of too late for the current data center that's going into town center to do anything about that?
Yeah, the data center in town center is through an MPD, so it has no effect on the LDC doesn't have any effect on that because it's been approved already. So
What I'd like to see in the ordinance for these data centers would be somebody explore the option of like closed loop geothermal, for their cooling methods, but without impacting our aquifer.
yes, I think there are at least 2 other type of similar use as a data center, but they do basically a closed loop for water consumption, and they're basically electric use is probably about 12 megawatts. It's large, but it's not enough to where it basically affects the community. And part of that right now is regulated under Statute 384. That the funding for that does not come out from the local government. I mean, the local residents, in order to shoulder that that infrastructure. So.
I also read where the federal government was going to allow these data centers to provide their own power generation, so it's not on the grid. So, and trying to get out of their way so they can permit it
Yeah, that.
quicker than normal.
Right, I think that would be like very large data center, like 500,000 square feet or 1 million square feet in order to qualify for that, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, we will open public comment. If there are any members of the public that would like to speak on this item of the agenda, please approach and state your name and address for the record.
Janie Duarte, a couple of things. I was just at the data center, near there actually, between the multifamily dwelling and the data center, and you can literally stand there and take a picture. Multifamily dwelling, data center. You can drive the speed limit and count. Multifamily dwelling, 8 seconds later, you're at the data center. This does affect the families around. There's a lot we don't know about these data centers, and we shouldn't be just throwing them in. And I've been told, or I've read somewhere, that these data centers, or Palm Coast is considered a campus for data centers. Like, they're going to dot Palm Coast with data centers everywhere. And you're confirming with the word data centers as plural today, and that's concerning because it's confirming that this is going to be a campus for data centers, and they're not healthy, from what I understand. They're not safe, and there's not enough research to approve any more data centers. This one that we already have that's growing up under our noses is literally 8 seconds away from multifamily dwellings going the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's not safe. We need to just ban these things here in Palm Coast. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional members of the public that would like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, we close public comment. We return to the board. Are there any additional questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, do we have a motion regarding this item?
I'll make a motion that we, planning board recommends approval to the proposed amendments to the land development code.
I'll second it.
Irene, roll call, please.
Board Member Hilton.
Yes.
Board Member Stansel.
Yes.
Vice Chair Albano.
Yes.
Chair Shank.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. We'll now move to the next item on the agenda, Red Mill Point MPD, application number 6212. Mr. Nguyen.
Yes, Madam Chair, this project has been approved for 216 multifamily units. They are coming in essentially to change that to an MPD to develop the same number of units, 216 units of townhouses. We're gonna propose to have the sequencing, the order of presentation slightly different from other PODRB presentation. We're gonna ask the applicant to start the presentation, then thereafter, then the staff will wrap up the presentation before you make a decision.
Okay, thank you. Will the applicant for application number 6212 please approach? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Board members, Michael Shimento for the applicant. This is a new process, so if we miss some things, forgive us in advance, but we'll give it a shot. You all have the package in front of you. It's quite voluminous, but I think the important thing to remind everybody is that this is a project located off Red Mill Drive. It's been approved by the planning board and by city council already, and it went through the subdivision process where actual permits were issued by the city of Palm Coast. And as it was said before, this project, and what you'll see in a moment, is virtually the exact same project that a development order exists today, in which we began to clear the land, and the applicant, the owner, put it on pause to address this issue. So it's very important that everybody on the board and in the public, when we had our neighborhood meeting, we focused on it, that presently there's a development order to construct 216 units that are rental. It was a rental community. And so here is the project on the left in black and white that was approved and is presently a permit issued for it, a development order. And the project that is in the PUD is the one that's colored. So you can see that it is virtually identical. There are some minor changes to the grouping of buildings, but essentially all in the exact same place. All the wetland impacts are exactly the same, which are 0. The stormwater system is exactly the same. The road configuration is exactly the same. The entrance is exactly the same. And so what we're asking is to just reaffirm this project in this rezoning under the PUD. And so here is the townhouse design. It is essentially the same product that it was under the prior development order. The amenity center is virtually the same as it was approved in the prior development order. But at the request of staff and as part of the PUD process, there is necessity under PUD to show public benefit. So we worked with your staff and provided an amenity on the main drive for a dog park so that the community can have a place to congregate. Let me go to this one right here because I think this is important. So here is a chart in front of you that talk about what was previously approved and is presently permitted. And it talks about the exact same thing. And 216 units, still the same count. We went from a multifamily rental community to a fee simple townhouse. And essentially, the difference is under the townhouse product, owners don't own just the airspace if they did own it, but remember, this was a rental community. This is a townhouse product which everybody owns the land that their unit sits on, and they have what they call a shared roof agreement it's managed by an HOA rather than a commercial developer that manages a rental community. The amenities are exactly the same, other than we added the dog park, which is a public benefit, and the dimensional standards are virtually the same too. So again, nothing really has changed between what is permitted and approved now than what we're asking for. So the question is, why did we do it? The answer is simply this. We wanted to bring to the city a for sale unit rather than a for rent unit. We didn't think any longer that a forced rent unit in this area was in the best interest of our client, as well as in the best interest of the community. And so we converted it to a fee simple ownership where every unit will be owned by the owners. It'll be financed by typical financing structures, by bank loans and that type of stuff. And it will be managed by the owners, the people who reside there and own those units, so they have a vested interest in maintaining it at a different level than maybe a rental community might. And we did it through a PUD because, to be very clear and simple, under your land development code, a townhouse must be a minimum of 25 feet, and the rental communities can be down to 18. And so we worked with staff, and the interior units are still the same as what's approved. They're 20 feet in width, and the side units go up to 25 feet in some circumstances. We've provided multiple car garages that are an improvement to what was approved with single car garages. And other than that, that is essentially what the project is and why we're here. And again, it needed to go through a rezoning in order to accommodate these different dimensional standards so that we can convert it from a rental community to a community that is single-family, residential, owned and managed by the owners of that community. So we're here to answer any questions that you have. Again, there's nothing different than what was approved and has been approved and actually started construction some time ago. The process in which you evaluate rezonings, you know that you've been through it many times, the different standards that you have to go through. You'll see in your staff report that all of them have been satisfied. Why? Because the prior project was consistent with your land development code and your comprehensive plan. So nothing has changed. Be happy to answer any questions that you have. But again, it was important to us when we had the neighborhood meeting that people there understood that this isn't a new project. This is just sort of modifying the ownership structure from a rental community to a fee simple. So we have our owner here that might answer any questions that you may have that are specific to the project. We're here to listen to staff and answer any questions that they may have. And if you have any questions of me now, I'll be happy to answer them. If you want to wait till later, the pleasure is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chimento. I think we'll defer to staff's presentation.
Yes.
All right, one quick moment. All right, Michael Hansen with Community Development, here for staff for the Red Mill Point Master Plan Development rezoning application. For those of you that may not be aware, Red Mill Point is located off of Red Mill Drive. It's, as you can see on that aerial map there, it's just slightly to the northwest of where Rimfire Elementary School is. Existing land use is mixed use, which supports the MPD zoning district. It also supports the current MFR1 zoning district that you see on the map. As Mr. Chimento went through some of the background are some of the previous development order approvals regarding the master site plan, the technical site plan with, and showed you reference for that development order for AR 4996. I don't want to beat the bush or anything. That development order was extended through, as you heard during the Land Development Code presentation, the extension provisions that the city has. So it was extended so that it was still current when the applicant submitted this application. I'm going to skip over to the criteria here, but actually, this one here gives a little bit more insight to what Mr. Schmenta was talking about as far as some deviations from the land development code on the particular project. So minimum lot size for the interior townhouses, you're looking at 1,800 square feet, or those exterior ones end up at 2,550. So the 1,800 square feet is a slight reduction to the LDC's 2,500 square foot minimum lot size for a townhouse, but the exterior is slightly increased over that. And that's to be consistent also ultimately with the plan. As Mr. Schmenta said, a lot of these MPDs come in with townhouse units with 18-foot widths, or sometimes so. This one is 20-foot width. Also, there's some slight deviations to minimum front and rear setbacks. This particular property has built-in buffers for landscaping purposes as it went through the multifamily aspect. So as a single-family to single-family residential unit, we don't actually require landscape buffers between single-family to single-family. So townhouses would be considered single-family. The only deviation of that is for master plan developments where the deviation exceeds 25% of what the adjacent land use is, as far as when you're looking at lot sizes and such. Otherwise, they've kept the landscape buffers that they had with the multifamily product that Mr. Schmenta mentioned. Also, the property is, there's some substantial wet areas here that act as natural buffers and provide vegetative screening as well from some of the existing properties. As far as some of the criteria, as you're aware, LDC Section 2.0505, Mr. Schmenta paraphrased it fairly well, as the project met all the criteria for the approval of multifamily project. This project isn't increasing any kind of density, so it's not in conflict with what was already previously approved by City Council through public hearing process. It doesn't create any kind of unnecessary, unreasonable threat to the general health or welfare of the inhabitants based on the previous findings. As the project goes through, it will have to continue to comply with all applicable laws and regulations for any third-party regulatory bodies as well. The criteria for master plan development is slightly different, as you're well aware. You have criteria subdivisions A through K. As in the staff report, staff's finding ultimately is that the project is consistent with the comprehensive plan. It meets the general intent of the land development code. There's not much more degree of departure from the proposed development that was already previously approved as far as the character of the surrounding area or density on it, and that ultimately it is able to provide for the developmental phases. So in the MPD development agreement that's attached with the staff report, the project was previously planned to be 3 phases. That's still in the development agreement. So their designs are that those phasing can stand on their own. So as Mr. Schmenta mentioned, the amenity center, that dog park that is currently in the draft development agreement, there's language in there that would require that all coming online with the infrastructure to support all phase 1, so that when residents essentially move in during that phase 1, they'll be able to utilize the amenities, and the surrounding members of the public will be able to utilize that publicly accessible dog park based on the current draft of the MPD. There is adequate availability as far as concurrency monitored facilities, potable water, sanitary sewer, based on the previous approval. This proposed rezoning hasn't increased any kind of demand on any kind of concurrency monitored facilities. I know our rep from the school board is here right now, but they just slightly tweaked their student generation model, so their numbers are slightly different between single family and multifamily. But I imagine this is probably similarly in the ballpark, as the unit count hasn't changed any. But I'll defer to our expert regarding schools in regards to school concurrency. Last side is As far as public participation, the applicant did host their neighborhood meeting. It was July 14th, sorry, I misspoke. There were about 25 members of the public that attended that neighborhood meeting. They met all their requirements for legal ad posting and placard posting. And I apologize with the application agenda packet. We did receive that one email inquiry regarding process following the neighborhood meeting that I had fully intended to get included with the application. It was printed out ahead of time, so you all should have a physical copy of that email inquiry that we did receive. It was essentially just process-related, how to be able to pull up files and just some inquiries regarding when the meeting's going to be scheduled and that kind of thing. Staff does have a recommendation for approval regarding the master plan development rezoning application, as we found it consistent with comprehensive plan, and recommends the planning board do the same and recommend approval of the city council.
Thank you.
As far as next steps on this particular one, because if it's approved by city council, it does have to go through 2 reads. So they're currently scheduled tentatively for October 6th and 20th currently. And then if approved for the MPD, as then it'll be single family, the developer will be required to go through a platting process for preliminary and final plats prior to be able to continue their construction on the project. I am available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Return to the planning board. Are there any questions regarding this agenda item? Okay, thank you. We will open it up to members of the public. If there are any members of the public that would like to speak regarding this agenda item, please approach and state your name and address for the record.
Jeannie Duarte, as I was saying earlier, I was near the data center and by the multifamily dwelling, and I was really disturbed. I actually went in there and parked in there and took a little bit of a walk, and I was disturbed about how things were built. The doors to the garages were not fitting the spaces. The paint was just thrown on there, and you can see the trim of the old paint. And the wood was warping already. This is a brand-new facility that doesn't even have all its
Ms. Duarte, are you referring to the item on the agenda?
I'm sorry.
We're not, we've passed the data center.
No, this was about the multifamily dwelling.
On Red Mill, because you referenced the data center.
I referenced near there. I'm just concerned about the same type of poorly built multifamily dwellings. And I understand that some of them are trying to go 4 stories tall. These 3 stories that I'm already seeing are very poorly built, and I want to try to avoid that happening in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional members of the public that would like to speak regarding this agenda item? Please state your name and address for the record. Will you bring the microphone so we can hear you? Thank you.
Sonia Bach, I live at 66 Red Mill Drive.
Thank you.
A few of the little things, or a few of the things that I'm concerned about is, number one, they said they did a study on traffic and that it passed. That was done, I don't have my papers with me, but I think it was done in '24. My request or suggestion is that they would do a current one, because one of my biggest concerns here is that we put in 216 more homes. You multiply that by at least 2 cars apiece. That is 432 vehicles, and the street is very busy. There are no sidewalks. They live less than a mile from the school, so they're walking to school. I'm very concerned for the children, for their safety. The traffic is getting higher through there and stuff. It's not safe. And if they really did a study during school, getting to school in the morning and leaving, to see the congestion and how hard it is for not only the residents to get in and out, let alone adding so much more traffic, but for the students and the buses and stuff too. That's a major concern I have for our neighborhood, for our children, because a number of them walk to school. Even those who are carpooled and dropped off, it's a challenge because of where they're left at. We do have one crossing guard right there across the street from the school, but like I said, this is going to increase it much more, and I'm very, very concerned about the children and their safety. So again, like I said, if we could have another more current traffic study done, during times of children going to school and coming, releasing from school, I think that that would be very pertinent, because it is a safety thing. It is, I'm going to refer back to the G that was on the thing here. I'm very pertinent about that, because I believe that it's a big deal. I mean, these are our future kids. These are our future taxpayers and stuff like that. We want them to be safe. We want them to be able to go to and from school safely. I know myself, I've had my grandchildren too, who I've walked to school before there too. And like I said, there are no sidewalks. I'm not asking for sidewalks, so that would be a blessing, but I just really, these kids are walking on the streets. So the traffic gets two ways through there. It gets very congested and stuff. Another concern I wanted to bring up too was the water drainage. We have enough issues with PEP tanks in our neighborhood here. I've been here just about 20 years, and we do have a lot of issues with that and stuff like that. I know this is set off and it's a little different and stuff like that, but it's still a very concerning problem that I have for our drainage systems and stuff, with the impact of so many more residents and stuff with our PEP tanks going off like they do. I just had somebody at my house this last week from the city updating stuff on there.
Thank you.
That's my time, okay.
Thank you. Are there any additional members of the public that would like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none. Good evening.
Cassandra Ford. I live at 58 Regency Drive.
Could you speak into
A
the
little bit
mic?
closer to the microphone. Thank you.
Testing.
Yeah, that's better.
It just kind of blows my mind with them wanting to build 260.
Excuse me, ma'am, if you don't mind, please restate your name and address. We weren't able to capture it.
Cassandra Ford, 58 Regency Drive.
Thank you.
It blows my mind that to come in and put 216 units in an area where you have one way in pretty much and one way out, to have that many people that's going to occupy an area like that, and you don't have enough roadway. There is not enough roadway for that many more extra people in that area. That's the first thing. The school zone, you can barely get in and out in the morning. You can barely get in and out in the afternoons. It's a lot of confusion. The people that live almost directly in front of the school, the neighbors, the homeowners are putting stakes in the yard, which I don't think they understand. So much for into their property is the city's anyway, so you putting stakes down doesn't really stop anybody from driving. The next thing is, like she spoke about the PEP tanks. We built in 2014, and I think my PEP tank, the motors have been changed already 4 times because of the water. You have a lot of water built up, and you call in, and it takes them a while to come to, repair it or whatever it is, and then you without your water. The next thing is the children walking in the neighborhood. We already have had a fluctuated large amount of duplexes being built, and it's just like the neighborhood is for single-family homes. When we retired after 32 years of military, we thought we were building our home. We didn't know we was coming into an area with duplexes and people in and out, and then you got other things going on when people don't take pride in the area. And the people in that area, I've been there since 2014, I think we take pride there. So I just don't, and I'm being told that another road is not going to go from Red Mill out to US 1. So what are we going to do with the traffic? What are we going to do with more people, with the school on one end and the park on the other end? And I just don't even, I can't fathom this in that small area. If you're going to put another road opening, maybe, but the water, the flooding with the culverts filling up, and we already have floods when it's excessive rain or hurricanes or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional members of the public that would like to speak regarding this agenda item? Seeing no one approach, we'll close public comment, and we will return to the board and to staff.
Madam Chair, if I have 3 follow-ups based on comments, if it fits.
Yes.
There was a comment regarding build quality. All these units will have to meet Florida Building Code as adopted by the state. There's a comment regarding traffic. This application did submit a TIA, traffic impact analysis, with the previous multifamily submittal. With this application for the MPD, they were required to revise and do a new one for the project that was reviewed by our transportation engineering and Mr. Nguyen up there on the dais regarding this MPD application. When they come in for plating as well, and they'll have to include that material with their applications as well. Projects like this are reviewed by our technical review team. All our, I think it's 190 combined years of experience in our respective fields, ensuring that projects meet building code, traffic engineering regarding the stormwater. The projects required to have on-site stormwater management, which was previously approved with the multifamily project. That's going to be looked at again by our stormwater engineering team during the plating process, where they have to sign off on it once again. And that's all I had for just follow.
Thank you. Mr. Nguyen, did you have any comments?
Yeah, I just want to provide additional comments relating to the traffic. They did provide a traffic recently in January of this year, an update for this development. And part of the city adoption, level of service adoption, is adopted all of our roads as adopted level of service D. And then the current level of service on all the roads within the vicinity are basically at level of service C, which is basically no issues with at all relating to meeting LOS level of service D. So we looked at that twice, basically, for the 216 units. So, and then, like Mr. Hanson said, that stormwater will have to be designed based on and complying with our regulations.
Thank you. Return to the planning board. Are there any comments or questions?
Yes, Mr. Hanson, when was this originally approved for the 216 multifamily?
Bear with me, I'm just pulling up here. For background and history, you should be able to see City Council approve a master site plan for 216 units with AR 487 or 4871, January 4th of 2022. The applicant then followed up with the technical site plan application with a approved master site plan with application 4996, and they received development order on that on May 23rd of 2023.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have a comment, because some of the concerns seem to, would have been brought up then when they were putting 216 homes in there. They don't pertain now because we're not changing the number of homes. We're not changing the number of vehicles that's going to be there. It's just changing it from rental to ownership. So it's really, the people that live there should be happy they're not going to have a bunch of renters. They should have owners that will take care of their property. That's all I've got to say.
And clarification on that, sir. The development order, because they applied for this during that process while it was still active, they could technically submit for a site development permit and construct the multifamily product at 216 units if the application is denied.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments from the planning board? I have a question for the applicant. Has a market study been done to determine that it should be single-family townhomes versus multifamily? That there's a need for more rentals or less rentals in that area and more purchases?
I don't believe so, that we've done a formal market study. It's just as we evaluate what's on the market and rentals in the community. So,
What was the price point, the rental amount going to be if it had if it remains as a multifamily? Will you please approach and state your name and address for the record?
Chuck Thompson. my address is 1515 Arlington Street in Orlando, so I'm a little far away from here. But I represent the owners and the development of the property, so it's my job to take them through the approval and also build the units when we get the approvals and stuff like that, you know, manage the engineers, et cetera. But I do know your question, originally, excuse me, I saw it a couple of days ago, as a matter of fact. I didn't know it till then. I think they were looking for an average rental of around $2,200 to $2,400 per unit. The reason we went to actually for fee simple is that we felt that was a better, you know, we felt the city would like it better, that would be a much nicer unit. And like we said, people are gonna, you know, that buy that unit, these are gonna be luxury townhouses. If you look at the plan, you'll see every one of these, 90% of these are either looking over the lake or looking over a wetland. They're basically almost they're a premium unit almost in every one of them. Our lakes will have, we're going to put in not sprinklers, but
Fountains?
yep, just to help out the water quality and everything like that before it goes out too. So, and these are basically, you know, we're trying to do a upper end townhouse unit. Now the price will still be under $300,000. So just to let you know.
That was my next
That's
question.
That's what we're working on.
So at 299.9.
Well, I would hope that there would be like 249 to 299 because you're going to have, you know, different units. You're going to have a 2-bedroom unit and a 3-bedroom unit and 2-car garages and some 1-car garages and others. So it'll, you know, it'll be a little different there.
So does your developer company, do you have your own mortgage company as well?
Excuse me?
Do you have your own mortgage company as well that would be
No.
financing? No. Is there any consideration to the 216 units having any set aside for our essential service, our essential workers?
We have not addressed that at all, at least at this point. We're trying to, you know, right now we're into these, my owners are into approvals and they want to build a nice little townhouse community because that's one thing they do very well. And we've already, and they sell them very well. It's on that. So that's what we're, what I know that we're looking to do. So.
Have you built any other townhomes in this community?
I believe Bright Homes has, but I've only been working for them for the last 6 months. And my expertise is all in the, basically in approvals, construction, and that code. I think there was there's a little history of Bright Homes on there, and they do have a project, I believe, in here in Palm Coast or very near here. So now exactly which one that is, I do not know.
Thank
It's
you.
finished. It's completed.
Thank you. Thank you for answering my questions. Are there any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
There aren't any other questions. I return to the planning board for a recommendation for a motion.
I'll recommend that the Planning and Land Development Regulation Board determine the proposed master plan development, application 6212, is consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommend approval to the City Council.
Do we have a second?
One second.
Irene, roll call, please.
Board Member Hilton.
Yes.
Board Member Stansel.
Yes.
Vice Chair Albano.
Yeah, excuse me, yes.
Chair Shank.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. We will now move to the next item on the agenda, which is a zoning map amendment for 331 plus or minus acres acre area to be referred to as Seminole Trace from Single Family Residential, SFR 1, and Preservation to Master Plan Development, MPD, with a development agreement. We will,
Can I ask I just want to ask a question on the first agenda item. I think I missed something.
on the first agenda item?
Yes, I just have a quick question. There was a lot of other stuff in on the agenda item for the land development code. Was that, some of that tabled, or is that later on in the presentation? I don't think I slept through it, so. There's signage, there's talk about single-family residence changes, industrial building changes. There's a lot of red ink in part of that.
Yes, those are all part of it, and we've gone over all those changes in previous workshops leading up to the wrap-up and then this one.
But they were just workshops, so
Oh, yes, but what you approved tonight would be for the entire package.
but we didn't talk about the entire package.
No, we
I had
Go ahead.
serious issues with a lot of the red ink, especially when it comes to architecture and industrial. And so we heard about freeboard and double silt fence, and that makes up a small percentage of all of the other red ink.
The strategy was that we provided you with the changes through the workshops leading all up to a final wrap-up workshop.
Right.
If there were issues, they should have been discussed at the time that those items.
So unfortunately, I wasn't at those workshops. I wasn't able to attend the workshops. Okay,
Sure.
I just wanted to know. So
However, we do have the city council public hearing. Yes, sir. And you can provide, like any other resident of the city, provide written comments, and we would attach those as part of a city council's package.
Okay, thank you. We will return now to agenda item number 5, and we will refer, Mr. Nguyen.
Yeah, this is the Seminole Trace, used to be called, also known as Cascades. So the future land use map amendment is to increase the maximum number of residential units from 416 to 743 dwelling units. Basically, they're going from residential and conservation to redesignate residential and conservation. So Mr. Jose Papa will present that, but before that, we would like to offer the applicant an opportunity to present it first.
Would the applicant please approach, state your name and address for the record?
Certainly. Michael Sciamento for the applicant. Just procedurally, there's two applications here. One is for the comprehensive plan amendment, and then there's one for rezoning, which is a master plan community agreement.
Can you speak into the mic, Mr. Chimento?
I get blamed for that quite a bit, sorry. There's two applications. One's for the comprehensive plan amendment, and one is for the rezoning to a community planned agreement. So I'll just take both of them at the same time. Sometimes you want to hear them separately, sometimes you want to hear the presentations together, and then you'll vote on them separately. So I'll just assume that we'll put all of them together and talk about them as you need, okay?
Yes.
So the prior owner, or actually the existing owner, had put forth a rezoning to the project when they came into the city, and there was a limiting policy of 416 units on the 331 acres. New entity who has taken over that project, you're familiar with the Coulter Group. They've done some projects here. They've done projects in Volusia and Flagler County. They're presently doing it. They have done Seminole Trace 1, I think it's called, on the north side of Citation Boulevard, and they worked with the city to extend Citation Boulevard through to, I guess it's Belterre. So they are the applicant. The prior owner, or the actual owner, is sort of, because it's their property. So Coulter would like to amend the entitlements on that to bring it to 2.2 units per acre, or the 743 units over the 331 acres. The project is partially designed and partially constructed to date. If this is approved, they will continue to commence and build a or $5 million amenity center, which they are partnering with a development to the north. All of this property is part of a community development district, in which the community development district maintains the roads and the stormwater, and then there's an HOA layered over top of that that will maintain all the landscape amenities and entry features. So what's before you today is, in the comprehensive plan amendment, is to amend the limiting policy from 416 to 734. And then in the PUD agreement, it lays out the design criteria for the balance of the project before you. And so it'll be a combination of single-family and townhomes on a few of the parcels. In addition to that, as part of the PUD agreement, the developer, Coulter, has agreed to already to work with the city to upsize the utility lines, basically water and sewer, in that region to not only accommodate their project, but the upsizing agreement that we have is to improve water quality, water pressure, and the sewer loop system in that area. They have agreed to, there's a spine road that runs through the project that will remain open to the public in the event of emergency access, because to get to Citation Boulevard. And in addition to that, they've also agreed to, rather than sell well sites to the city of Flagler Beach, they've agreed to convey 2 more well sites to the city of Flagler Beach for their need on their infrastructure. So those are sort of the community benefits. We're here to answer any questions you have, but it's a real simple agenda request, trying to keep it simple. And all we're doing is continuing on with the development, and Coulter would like to take over and finish the project as a master plan community. So I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Mr. Chimento, when you approach again, please try to speak louder into the mic, because the people in the back cannot hear you. Okay? Okay, well, staff will make their presentation.
Certainly.
And then if Mr. Chimento needs to come back with, and you'll have an opportunity to come for public comment, and we'll be able to address those items, I assure you, okay? Thank you. Staff, Mr. Papa, please.
Sure. Good evening again, Madam Chair and members of the board. Jose Papa for the Community Development Department. Given the background again, we're looking at a 331 plus or minus acre parcel located about half a mile north of US 1, depending on your orientation, to the north or the west side of Seminole Woods Boulevard. So the proposed amendment is, as mentioned before, is to go from 416 to a cap of 743 dwelling units, and rearranging some of the residential and conservation areas within the subject area. There is a companion zoning map amendment that takes the zoning from single-family residential 1 and preservation to a master plan development with a development agreement. And these are the maps. The map to the left provides you with the current future land use map, again, with a note that there's a cap of 416 dwelling units. And what's proposed on the right is the proposed map that providing a cap of 743 units. And as you can see, the conservation areas that runs down the middle of the parcel has been increased. There's a reduction of conservation to the eastern portion of the property, and also the small conservation area about to the central part of the development that's being removed. And this is your current zoning. Again, within the red outline area, the dark green is your preservation area. The rest of it is a SFR1 or single family residential 1. And under the master plan development proposed zoning, the entire parcel will be designated as master plan development. And of course, that comes with a development agreement. The applicant did host a neighborhood meeting last week. And excuse me. And so we'll provide you with the analysis for the future land use map amendment. And under this analysis, we will consider the maximum development potential as proposed by the applicant in the companion zoning map amendment to master plan development. The tables will provide a net change between the existing and the proposed development. The gross impact from the proposed development is also provided. So again, what we'll see is that there's going to be an additional number of units that will increase the number of dwelling units by 327. And if you look at that in terms of population, where you have 2.5 persons per dwelling unit, that's an additional 818 persons. Looking at its impact on public facilities, going from 416 to 743 dwelling units, you're looking at an increase of about 317 trips in the PM peak hour. And the demand on water and sewer, you see an increase of about 77,000 gallons in water demand, 67,000 gallons in sewer demand, 7,000 additional pounds per day of garbage. There will be an additional demand of 6.5 acres for parks due to the increase in population. And in terms of net impact on our schools, there will be an additional 62 students produced as a result of going from 416 to 743. For environmental impact, you look at the topography and soil conditions, and most of these were provided in the initial when this came in for a flume amendment about 3 years ago. So there's no indicators of unique topographical relief or soils that would be affected by the amendment. The flume amendment will have no impact on the 100-year floodplain, and any adverse impacts will be part of plat approval. But within the vegetative communities, they'll be subject to U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and Water Management District regulations. The flume amendment will not change the need to comply with those regulations. As required by the Land Development Code, once they are ready to go vertical, there will be a requirement to provide a study of any protected species on the property from a qualified environmental professional, and that study is valid for 1 year for the property. And for groundwater resource protection, the property is not within an aquifer or recharge area, but it does have multiple well sites throughout the subject property, and there are no impacts at this time on historical resources. So it's consistency with the comprehensive plan policies. You have a post amendment within the development that's already served by utilities. There's recognition that the additional units will require analysis for capacity, water, sewer, schools, transportation during site plan or during the plat process. It is that time that the measure for concurrency is tested. That is, that there must be adequate capacity for water and sewer, schools, transportation in order to serve this property. And the conservation, and one thing is that with the proposed revamp of the conservation and residential areas, you have a more contiguous conservation areas running through the center of the property. Based on that, the staff is recommending that the Planning and Land Development Regulation Board find the proposed amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommend that City Council approve the proposed amendment. The schedule for this is that we have the first reading on September 1st, after which the comp plan amendment will be transmitted to Florida Commerce, which is the state land planning agency, and comes back to City Council for a second reading on October 20th. And at this point, I can move on to the zoning map amendment, or if
Yes.
the board, yes, thank you. So as previously stated, the map on the left shows you the current zoning for the property of the SFR1 in preservation, turn the dark green areas, and change that to a designation of master plan development. This is the conceptual master plan, which is required as part of master plan development agreement. And as you can see here, as a subset, the yellow really represents the developable areas within the 331 acres, with tract 6, as shown here, which is about a 59-acre parcel, being set aside for conservation within the conceptual master plan. Looking at the criteria for the different, from the land development code for the proposed amendment, as stated in the MPD agreement, it's the onus agrees to construct at a minimum on-site improvements in addition to the payment of all impact fees. Those improvements include parking areas, the utilities, the master stormwater system, the sidewalks, lighting, recreational facilities to serve the proposed community, and the perimeter buffer landscaping. And this is typical of other MPD agreements. It's a consistency with a comprehensive plan. The proposed future land use map allows the MPD rezoning. It does provide for a mix of residential areas along with a preservation area, and it provides for the availability of public infrastructure proximate to properties. So it's consistent with those policies in our comprehensive plan. The proposed development must not impose a significant financial liability or hardship for this city. Water and sewer lines are available nearby, but will need to be extended to the site by the developer. In order to move forward with development of the additional units, there must be adequate water capacity and central sewer service capacity. And again, those will be measured, if approved, at the time that they come in for a technical site plan or a plat approval. The impact of this additional demand will be further reviewed and analyzed as part of the technical review process. As I mentioned, that's a technical site plan or plat review process. And again, there must be adequate capacity to serve that development. Any deficiency in the treatment capacity may result in the denial of the development order or the development of mitigation agreement to address the deficiency. Does it create an unreasonable health hazard, nuisance, or constitute a threat to the general health, welfare, safety of the city's inhabitants? The proposed rezoning to master plan development is compatible with the neighboring property since the allowed uses, whether it's single-family detached or attached units, as called for in the MPD agreement, are similar to what's permitted development in the surrounding area. And the development must still comply with all other applicable local, state, federal laws, statutes, ordinances, regulations, or codes. So the subject property will still be required to comply with the city's land development code, comprehensive plan, and other local, state, and federal agencies regulations throughout the development process. Any approval granted here tonight does not negate the requirements of other agencies or what's still required in the land development code. For a master plan development, we have additional criteria that we must review in section 20904. And one is that, is it consistent with a comprehensive plan? And the criteria was previously addressed as part of the companion comprehensive plan amendment. Its consistency with the general intent of the LDC. The MPD is generally consistent with different standards of the LDC, such as when it comes to parking requirements, lighting, landscaping, and architecture. But staff notes the following items of concern. One is that the reduction of open space requirement from 40% to 20%. The minimum townhome width of 18 feet can be problematic due to the LDC requirement of requiring a 25% landscape planting area in front of the home's building facade. Additionally, the land development code requires a minimum width of 16 feet for driveways, 2 side-by-side parking spaces in front of the garage. And so with an 18-foot wide lot, staff has found this to be problematic in previous cases. Additionally, the front building setback to the property line of 15 feet and 10 feet for single family and townhome respectively. These are problematic also in the staff's findings, because these dimensions are inconsistent with the requirement in the land development code for driveways to be a minimum of 20 feet from the garage door to the property line. So, and additionally, the driveways, again, as previously stated, must have a minimum width of 16 feet. Its degree of departure from proposed development surrounding areas and its compatibility within the development and relationship with surrounding areas. The development's character and density intensity are consistent with those found in the surrounding areas. To the north and south are single-family residential units. To the west are preservation, open space areas. To the east are vacant lands, but which does include an approximately 120-acre site that is currently under review by Flagler County for a flume and zoning map amendment. And that would be to go to a mixed-use high-intensity with a zoning map amendment to planned unit development. Are there adequate provisions for public facilities? Again, they would still be required to meet the level of service standards. Any deficiencies may be addressed through potentially a proportionate share payment or agreement. These agreements may be between the developer and the city, and in the case of school facilities, will include the school district. And other items listed above, flood control and soil conservation, are to be addressed in accordance with permitting agency regulations and the land development code. The feasibility and compatibility of development phases to stand as independent developments. The MPD does not provide for a phasing plan. The subject area already includes a 386-lot subdivision that is pending approval for its final plat. Additionally, the owner of that parcel has applied for a preliminary plat for the remaining 30 units that's currently permitted within the existing future land use map designation of 416 total units. If approved with the flume and the MPD, the remaining units may be developed in multiple phases. Per the MPD, each phase will need to include infrastructure to support the proposed uses. And those would be the water and wastewater service, drainage, roads, and pedestrian facilities. And the provision of infrastructure per the MPD is to be concurrent with the construction of each phase and must be complete prior to issuance of building permits. The availability and adequacy of primary streets and thoroughfares to support traffic to be generated within the proposed development. Infrastructure must be available to support the proposed development concurrent with its impacts. The review of the traffic impacts by staff reveals that there will not cause any road segment to fall below the adopted level of service. And a review of site access and traffic operations will be conducted during a site plan or plat process and may result in the need to provide operational improvements. There are already turn lanes there, so that could include extending the turn lanes and, if necessary, intersection improvements or traffic control, and it could take in the form of traffic signals or roundabouts. And the benefits of a proposed development to the general public to justify requested departure from the standard development requirements inherent in the master plan development classification. The MPD does provide an opportunity to offer a variety of another type of dwelling unit, that's the townhomes, over and above what's allowed now of single-family homes. Per the LDC and the MPD, the MPD zoning should provide a recognizable and material benefit to the ultimate users of the project and to the community where such benefit would otherwise be unfeasible or unlikely to be achieved without application of the master plan development zoning of approval, and provide for the long-term protection of natural resources and natural features of significant quantity or quality. So based on those, I think these were recited by the applicant in their initial presentation. The applicant provides the following as public benefits tied to the MPD zoning application. The upsizing of the pipes, which will come as in the form of a utility credit agreement, as stated in their application. Now, this infrastructure does expand the city's utility system and facilitates orderly development within this area. But I believe that this agreement, although staff has not seen it, since it is in the form of a utility credit agreement, will likely provide credit to the developer for development over and above what is required of their property. Providing for an integrated mixed residential community. Again, it does provide for that. Again, the opportunity to provide for attached single-family units. That's townhomes in addition to single-family unit. But those are merely options at this point, so that there is no requirement within the MPD that they construct townhomes, other than it's an option to provide that. And emergency access. The development does provide public emergency access connection between what is Seminole Woods and Citation Boulevard, improving emergency access and connectivity for the surrounding area. And, you know, that in case of an emergency, because it is a gated, we understand that the openings to these subdivisions will be gated, so they will not always be available for the public to cross from Citation to Seminole, but during an emergency, those gates could be lifted and provide for emergency access. And finally, the well sites. It is at the request of Flagler Beach from the owner that to convey 2 well sites to the city. That's City of Flagler Beach, no cost. And as stated in an application letter to the city. Otherwise, owner will sell the 2 sites to the city, again, Flagler Beach, an amount greater than $1 million. Staff proposes that the applicant, after review of the provided statements on the public benefit, should provide a material benefit that serves the immediate residents of the subject property, as well as the general population of the city of Palm Coast. It's a conformity and compatibility of development with any other adopted development plan of the city of Palm Coast. There are no specific development plans for this area of the city. The analysis was conducted for consistency with the comprehensive plan, which is previously provided. Its impact upon the environment or natural resources. As seen in the conceptual plan, the MPD does propose to protect a large swath of wetlands and other sensitive areas of approximately 59 acres that bisects the subject property. It is important to note that the subdivision within the subject parcel, the Cascades, which is that 386 subdivision, does include other areas of open space, wetland, and preservation upland buffer areas that are not going to be impacted by the proposed zoning map. So although they are shown as residential, they are by plat already protected by the plat, because they're designated for, as stated there, open space, wetland, preservation, upland buffer areas. And its impact on the economy of any affected area. I think the only thing that we can provide here is that during its construction of those homes, the preparation of the land for infrastructure, that there will be temporary construction jobs during its construction. We find that the requested zoning amendment mainly meets the criteria of LDC sections 20505 and 20904. However, there are development standards in the MPD that create a conflict with orderly development of the property. At this time, planning staff recommends the Planning and Land Development Regulation Board find the proposed rezoning application number 6418 does not meet the criteria for approval of an MPD as established in the Land Development Code section 30304, and recommend that City Council deny the proposed zoning map amendment. Should the PLDRB want to recommend approval, staff proposing the following changes to the MPD agreement. Require the minimum open space to remain at 40% of the subject property's gross area, consistent with LDC sections 30303-1I1. Require minimum townhome lot width of 20 feet. Require a minimum front building setback of 20 feet. And to provide additional material benefit that serves the immediate residents of the subject property, as well as the general population of the city of Palm Coast. We previously provided with the meeting schedule for the Flume amendment, which will be simultaneous with this zoning map amendment. And that concludes staff presentation.
Thank you. We return to the planning board. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding. So at this time, we would like for you to state if you have been participating in any ex parte communication. If not, just say no.
No.
No. Okay, at this time, we will open for public comment. If there are any members of the public that would like to comment on any of these two items, please approach and state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to make your presentation.
My name's John Haber. I live in Seminole Woods, or Grand Landing, sorry. My concern is you know, they want to go from 400 homes to 700 homes with an additional project to be built right next door to it. Does Palm Coast really need that many more homes in that area? Traffic is already bad on Seminole Woods. So I don't see the need for that many more homes back there. I think it's greedy. I think that it's just ridiculous to build that many homes back in there.
Thank you. Hello.
My name is Sue Duffner. I live at 133 Nighthawk Lane in Grand Landings. I just have a simple question to ask. This property, from when I moved here, it was supposed to be this high number, and they had a big turnout of the local people that live in S section, U section, et cetera, that it got voted down, and it went down to this 400 number. So now, 2 years later, or whatever it is, I'm sitting back here listening to go back up to 800 residential homes. I guess with what's going on with a different developer, putting this urban city now right next to single-family homes, got the zoning changed to build this big shopping area right on Seminole Woods. I guess my question to everybody is, you're our neighbors here. When is enough enough, or when does the people that moved here, that set their roots down here, I don't care if you're here 20 years or you're here 2 years, if this is where you choose to come and live, when is enough enough to say, we're not going to keep doing this? The woods are disappearing. The animals have no place to go. They're coming into our complexes now. So when Seminole Trace gets built and this urban city gets built, it's going to be the same thing. There's no place for wildlife to go except into the communities where we live, and it's already started in Grand Landings. We have animals that should not be in our complexes. So all I'm hearing is over and over since I'm living here now, this swath is gone, that swath is gone. When does it stop? You've got Seminole Woods, 100 to Route 1. It's a beautiful street. Why are we turning it into a Palm Coast Parkway? Is this what you would want in your backyard or next door to your homes? I guess that's my confusion since I've been living here, and I love it here. I think that Palm Coast is a very special town, but how many more? We've got thousands of homes being built between Citation, all those communities. Now what's going to be built on Seminole Woods. Traffic? Yes, traffic's already started. I'm not sure what traffic analysis they're doing, but we live here and we know certain times of the day. You're not getting onto Route 100 going in either direction. We've got tons of grocery stores. We don't need another grocery store on Seminole Wood to be another Target shopping plaza. When does this group of people listen? Do the residents ever have any say in what's going on in our own communities?
Thank you. Are there any additional members of the public that would like to speak on this agenda item?
Hi, I'm Kyle Meyer. I'm at 102 Wood Thrush Lane. First of all, I've only been here under 3 years, but I agree with Sue that I've seen such change just on my own street, and I'm not against change. I know progress has to happen, but I think it has to be smart growth. I think you do need to start listening to residents, because everywhere I go, I hear that people are very concerned about all this development. My biggest concern with this development is that this is I guess I'll call it a boomerang. I wasn't here during the first iteration of this, but I have some notes that on November 7th of 2023 is when this first came before the city council, and Teresa Pontieri urged to go. They were originally put out for 850 units, and there was such pushback from residents. Over 200 people were apparently in this room. Unfortunately, this room tonight is not packed because a lot of people didn't even get notification. Apparently, it's been changed from anybody living within 300 feet to 500, and also the signs on the road you can't read them. That's a story for another day. But anyway, Ms. Pontieri was able to get, or with the council, they passed it on a 3-to-1 vote. It was a clear legislative cap, and that was a 2-reading statutory obligation. On November 17th, so 10 days later, Mr. Cimento filed a motion for rehearing based on something called an administrative clerical error, which I don't have the time to go into it right now, but you guys probably have all that information yourselves. What they're doing is build back in a hook piece to add these extra units. And that hook piece was originally in the master plan. I think that their objective was not to correct the boundary line, but to circumvent the vote and get that land back. That's my own opinion. I think that in doing this now, they came forward to build 850. The council approved it for single-family homes based on residents' concerns. It is a purely residential area. If you drive down there, you'll see people walking dogs and riding bikes. And so they knocked it from 850 to 416. It was approved by the council. And now here we are again. We're back. And now they want 750. So they're shaving a little bit off. So I just am really concerned that it's all just smoke and mirrors and we're back to square one. I do very much appreciate you guys listening, because I really am happy with the questions you are asking. I would ask for you to retable this for residents to have more information. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any additional members of the public that would like to comment on this item?
Sean Taylor, 26 Seton Valley Path. New resident to Palm Coast, but not unfamiliar with Palm Coast. Been coming through Palm Coast and Bunnell my whole life. Had family in Bunnell. My problem is I don't think the city is capable of handling all this development on Seminole Woods Parkway, or Seminole Woods Road. The road's not big enough. I don't know what they're doing with the traffic studies, but I've only lived in Seminole Woods for a short time now, and there's a lot of accidents on Seminole Woods. The infrastructure, you don't have enough water or sewer to supply what you're planning to do. If you think you do, that's fine. It's going to happen regardless. You need to take a look on how old your water pipes in the ground are, how old your sewer pipes are in the ground, not the new ones that are being put in, but the ones that have been there for years and years. As the road needs to be widened, whose responsibility is that? It needs 3 more lanes easily, 2 in each direction and a center turn lane. Then you need to put some traffic lights out there. The fatalities are going to get worse. Your speed limit's 55, and that's just recommended speed limit, not what people drive. Kids are going across on their bicycles, people trying to get across to walk their dogs. No one's paying attention. Everybody's trying to jump out in front of the next car that's coming, that's traveling 75 miles an hour down the turn, or around the curve, the first bend coming from 102 US 1. So there's a lot of issues that you all have to address before allowing this build that's going to eventually happen, unfortunately. That's just the way it is in the cities. I've been a part of cities down south for many, many years. It is what it is. Unfortunately, there's no stopping it. Hopefully you guys can just slow it down enough to make the residents feel safe in their own community that they chose to live in. We moved up here 3 years ago. My wife got a job with Flagler Schools at Dade County Public Schools. Thought it was going to be a great change in life. And it has been so far, but what I see coming, Palm Coast ain't ready for. I've witnessed it my whole life growing up in Miami. So if you guys take a look at anything down south, it's coming fast. You don't have enough schools for the kids that are going to be here. Your schools are overflowing now. You've got the one development here, the Rimfire development. The other development is going to be in between this one and Grand's Landing. Y'all have a lot of homework to do before just signing off on whatever it is you guys want to sign off on. But the safety of your residents should be your top priority, and the kids in the neighborhood should be your top priority. If it means tabling it for another year, whatever it is, lowering the numbers, lowering things down. I mean, you're looking at over 3,000 cars, probably 4,000 cars once this other one. And it's easy to do things at night, you know. It is what it is. Y'all have a great evening.
Thank you. Are there any other additional members of the public that would like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing no one approach, we will close public comment at this time, and we will return to the planning board. Are there any questions or comments?
Yes, I have comments.
Yes, sir.
Little history lesson. Back in November 23, there was a big meeting, and the original plot was for 416 homes, and they came in wanting to do 850. Seminole Woods residents, it's all scattered lot homes, and they didn't want 4-story apartment buildings looking down upon them across the road. So they flocked here and petitioned the council to stick to the 416. Okay, and they voted that way. Well, then there was a thing with the hook thing, like the lady said, and so Mayor Alphen petitioned to have it reheard in December for January. Well, in January we flooded this place. I was here, and it was a 4-0 vote to keep it at 416 because they didn't want the 850 multi-family homes looking down on across the street from our homes. I lived there. Now this is like 2.5 years later, 3 years later, and it's the same thing, trying to sneak it in. This is just, you know, this is the way I see it because I know this case, you know. And I just think it's kind of sneaky Pete to try to do the same thing 2.5 years later. And, you know, it's wrong. It's just wrong.
Thank you. Mr. Urbano.
I'll disagree with my colleague's comment on that. I don't think anybody is trying to sneak anything through. Additionally, I'd like maybe staff to address some of the misinformation that was provided by the public comment. You know, what people don't realize is in the state of Florida, it's a property owner's right. Also, this is not new land. This is land that's been platted in 1970, so it's not like somebody decided, oh, we're going to build new land. So all this could have been handled with due diligence before you moved here. We heard earlier about, all these duplexes. There hasn't been a new duplex platted in Palm Coast since 1970. So maybe the staff can approach some of this and explain to the public how things work in the state, how things work in the city regarding property owners' rights. And then the last comment is, our board is a recommendation board. Our decision has no bearing whatsoever to the city council. We just make a recommendation that this project meets the requirements or it doesn't meet the requirement. The city council decides amongst themselves whether or not to approve the project. So I urge everybody from tonight's meeting and get all your neighbors to show up to the city council. Lastly, there's a lot of people that like to complain, not saying these people that are, but there's a lot of people, I read all the comments, they all want to sit and they want to just bellyache about all of the problems. Yet there was only 3 applicants for 7 seats to replace us. So if you have a problem with what we're doing, I suggest you sign up. I think early September, they're going to be picking additional members for the planning board. And I urge people to step up to the table. I've been here 6 years, so it's time for somebody to take my seat.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments or questions from the planning board? Staff, are there any comments that you would like to address at this time from the public?
Other than maybe to a direction of the planning board member, just to address some of the process that we have to undergo with any future land use map or zoning map amendment. And earlier this evening, when we went over the land development code amendments, one thing you saw was that if you're approved or denied, once you file a zoning map application and a judgment is rendered to approve or deny, you cannot come back to that particular application for 2 years. But you can come back. And I think that is a big tenet of property rights in the state of Florida and actually throughout the country, in that you're entitled to due process as a landowner. The range that can, as to what you can apply for can vary. And barring any time limits that might be in the land development code, you as a landowner will always have that authority to apply for a change in your zoning or your land use map designation, or if you already have the appropriate zoning, to apply for a project to develop it. And I think that what we have here is exactly that. We have a landowner who is exercising their right to be heard in a public forum within the process established in our land development code and within state statutes as to how to change their land use map designation and their zoning map designation. And what they ask for is that's at their discretion. I mean, they could have come in and said, no cap on development, meaning that what they would be entitled to would be potentially development of up to 12 dwelling units per acre, as our residential land use designation would allow. But part of their application does indicate a cap of 743. And there are many examples. Whenever we process a land use map amendment, typically it will come with a cap, only because it's not the applicant's intent to develop that number of units. And typically what they come in with is what they have made I'm guessing, an educated analysis of what the land could potentially hold in terms of development. So, and that's where this process comes in. And us as reviewers of the application, we have the land development code criteria and the comprehensive plan with its different policies that we have to review and analyze and render a judgment or decision on.
Thank you. So I do have a couple of questions. Has an environmental phase 1 report been provided to staff?
We have a preliminary environmental site assessment because, again, this application came in, well, not this application, but a similar application came in 3 years ago, right? Which led to the platting of the Cascades subdivision that's there now, 386. So yes, that's been.
So that was 3 years ago?
Yes,
when,
ma'am.
Okay, so an updated one has not been provided with this application?
Typically, conditions don't change to the extent within that 3 years, especially within, as they've cleared and platted. Typically, phase 1, you look for, are there dump sites, illegal dumping that's happened, and those things have not occurred.
So with the community development district and the HOA, if you increase the units, then those fees could potentially impact the people that are currently a part of the Cascades, correct?
I can't, I don't know enough about how CDDs and HOAs work. I imagine that
Because of the increased infrastructure
The
needs.
increased infrastructure needs, and that if it's the CDD that's going to be required to pay it, then obviously every owner within that CDD will pay a certain portion of it. As to whether it increases or decreases, maybe that's an applicant question.
Okay. You mentioned that the 2 wells will be conveyed to the city of Flagler Beach, and a value was assessed at $1 million for those 2 wells. Was there some type of an appraisal or something provided to the city to determine that value?
What I've provided you is the quote from submittal by the applicant. You may.
But no official report, just a
We
quote?
didn't, not as part of the application.
Okay. It was also mentioned that a utility credit is currently in place for the upsizing of the infrastructure. So if they were granted the additional units, will those credits still be applicable? Because they're going to be placing an additional burden on the infrastructure.
The credits would come if they were to upsize the pipes beyond what's required for their development level, right? If they're only required to put in a 12-inch pipe for X number of units, and if the city requests that they go to 18-inch, that difference is typically what would be recovered by the developer from the city.
Under the floodplains, it states in the analysis that a portion of the subject property is located within Zone A, and the finding is that the proposed flume change could potentially negatively impact the function of the special flood hazard area. However, if floodplain is impacted, compensatory storage will be required within the same defined floodplains hydrologic subbasin as the placement of the field pursuant to Section 10.02.11b Land Development Code. So with that finding, how could this potentially impact the neighboring residences?
The potential flood hazard area are at the western fringe of the subject property. It's mainly, it touches the edges of and so with that, the bulk of the property is outside of the special flood hazard areas. And from the way that we saw how Cascades was platted, the developer, I believe, for the most part, avoided any providing any lots.
Are you able to
within.
bring that up on the map so that the public can see it specifically what area that is referring to?
If I can just point it out mainly, where the special flood hazard areas are. It was mainly through, again, the western edges of what's been platted now as the Cascades subdivision, and mainly along here too. So it touches, but it's not here, and it's not here.
I'm not able to see your.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
we're not able to.
apologize. I am so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, I don't.
Okay, thank you.
All right, yeah. So mainly the special flood hazard areas, again, are at the edges of the western boundaries of this development. And the way that the Cascades was platted, it avoided, for the most part, any impact on the special flood hazard area. And what I was saying is that your special flood hazard area is not through here, and it's not through here where you would have the bulk of any development would occur.
Okay, thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments from the planning board? Seeing none, we have 2 items that we're going to be voting on, and that is the recommendation on the zoning amendment and the future land use map amendment. The first of which would be the future land use map amendment. Mr. Papa, will you please place your recommendation on the screen again?
Yes, ma'am.
And remembering what Mr. Papa mentioned earlier when he was reviewing the land development code, that if it is a denial, that there's a 2-year period, correct?
Yeah, I believe that only refers to the
The zoning, the
Yes,
zoning
ma'am.
amendment.
Yes, ma'am.
The future land use map of.
And I apologize, just, and assuming that that gets
Approved.
by city council, because it is only a proposed text amendment at this time.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a motion?
Yeah, do we have a application number, or is no?
Oh, no, no.
This is 6419.
64, yes, I'm sorry.
Regarding application 6419, the Planning and Regulation Board finds that the proposed amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommend that the city council approve the proposed amendment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Irene, roll call, please.
Board Member Hilton.
Yes.
Board Member Stansel.
No.
Vice Chair Albano.
Yes.
Chair Schenk.
No.
Motion is defeated.
Okay, Jose, will you please place the next recommendation on the screen for the zoning? Okay, do we have a motion for the zoning amendment?
I'll make a motion that the Planning and Land Development Regulation Board find the proposed rezoning application number 6418 does not meet the criteria for approval of MPD as established in the Land Development Code and recommend denial to City Council for the rezoning.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Irene, roll call, please.
Board Member Hilton.
Yes.
Board Member Stansel.
Yes.
Vice Chair Albano.
Yes.
Chair Schenk.
Yes.
The denial motion is carried 4-0.
Thank you. We will now move to the next item on the agenda. Members' discussion and staff issues. Thank you all for attending the Planning and Land Development Regulation Board. As Mr. Albano stated, however, we do encourage you to consider serving the community, serving the city as a member of the Planning and Land Development Regulation Board. If you visit the city's website, that you will see that there are several opportunities where you can serve the community and learn more about the actual process. And because I know sometimes it's frustrating in the expectations of the planning board, but as Mr. Albano stated, that we make recommendations. Doesn't mean that it's always going to be upheld with the city council. So we have to be more attentive in our elections process and paying attention to the stance that people take. And we, again, thank you all for attending, and we hope to see some of you apply for planning board. You're welcome. Okay, members' discussion and staff issues. Mr. Nguyen?
Yeah, just want to let the agency know that we have several.
If you could please exit quietly, we're not quite done yet. Thank you. Thank you.
We have several candidates for the PODRB that City Council will appoint on September 15th. And then right after that, the next day, September 16th, we would have the workshop. Primarily is just to educate through the process how they can, the new members can conduct as part of the PODRB, just to let you know.
Thank you. Planning board members, any comments?
I think this is my last meeting on this board, I think. So just want to thank staff for all the support and learned way more about planning than I ever thought I could even learn or be interested in, but it's good stuff. It's been an exciting journey. Yeah, and right. And thank you for everyone that I've served with. I think stuff doesn't always go our way, and it's been a little bit frustrating at times, but it's still, I think I can walk away saying we left it better than we found it. So
That's right. We're going to miss you. Absolutely. Thank you for your service. And
Mr. Holton.
yes, as you transition on, we wish you much great success and take all of this experience wherever life takes you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Unless, oops, sorry.
I think Irene,
I just want to ask Mr. Nguyen, are we going to mention the business meeting we added for September, the 22nd?
Yes, yes, since we were thinking that the new members basically been appointed on the 15th, and then the next day they have to take actions, consideration, so we reschedule that for September 22nd as the regular meeting, that's correct. And then after that, then we will resume the same third Wednesday of the month.
thank you. Irene, will you please send us a calendar invite so we can update our, thank you. And we had a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, everyone, have a wonderful evening. Thank you for your service. Bonnie's sleeping. She's sleeping.
Need my right turn.